Your daily dose of sports and fun. This is the Morning Drive Podcast from Double T 97.3, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
I'm Mike Hebert, owner of Cantex Roofing and Construction. Every day is game day, and we'll get it right when it comes to your roofing, construction, windows, and mirrors. Call Cantex Roofing and Construction today. Together, we are one serving you.
It is a Football Friday presented by Abundance Energy. With Jamie Lent and Jeff McGuire, I'm Chuck Heinz. Yates Flooring Center chat line is open. Go to the Double T 97.3 mobile app presented by Happy State Bank. So, got a couple thoughts here for you. And this is going to be some early morning deep thinking. Okay, this is deep end of the pool stuff.
Okay.
All right. Gator Bowl, it features Clemson and Kentucky, and Coach Dabo Swinney and the Kentucky coach Mark Stoops talked about something that is, prevalent with, this time of year, the portal and the roster and things like that. And Coach Swinney said this. He said, the problem is tampering. And he said, and we could fix it easily if they'd let football people fix it, but they don't usually listen to us. And apparently Mark Stoops, the Kentucky coach, was nodding in agreement. He said that there needs to be stiffer sanctions and penalties for coaches and programs tampering outside of designated transfer windows. He said that would dramatically reduce concerns. He said that that's a frequent complaint from coaches, but he says he doesn't believe the NCAA is interested in following the lead of coaches. He said the rosters are not the same because of the portal, because of the trend of guys not playing. You can get in a bad spot pretty quick because he said they're thin at defensive back and Kentucky right now is thin at quarterback. I don't know if sanctions or penalties are going to help anything because the NCAA has issued sanctions and penalties to programs for years. And programs have always tried to cheat, right? They've always tried to do things under the table.
Yeah, absolutely. And it feels like in this situation, it would be pretty easy for them to just go through other avenues to reach out to guys. So let me throw something out at you. And to go back to the history of the National Letter of Intent, which is what student-athletes sign when they're committing to another school. It's a non-binding agreement. At least that was the original intent. The origination of the National Letter of Intent is here in Lubbock. It was written by a guy by the name of J. William Davis, who at the time was a professor of government and the faculty athletics representative at Texas Technological College, which of course now is Texas Tech. This was done in 1964. He, along with the commissioner of the Southwest Conference at the time, Howard Grubbs, created the National Letter of Intent program. At the time, it was not directly affiliated with the NCAA, and it was designed to protect both the university and student from either party backing out. Okay? And then in October of 2007, that's when the NCAA became responsible for the administration of the program. I knew because I'd done some look at this previously, so it's not like this was walking around knowledge for me. I knew that the National Letter of Intent was written by a guy who was here at Texas Tech. I didn't know that it was until 2007 that the NCAA was involved. So here's my question for you. Is it time for binding contracts, especially, and let's just speak specifically about football and men's basketball, okay? Is it time for binding contracts between a player and a university, or at least to the point where you're going to make a commitment over whether it's a 2-year period of time or a 3-year period of time, and let's just say it's 2 years to protect both sides, and then also some kind of non-compete aspect of it so that you don't go within the conference. So you have that solidified that if you're going to transfer or leave, you cannot go to another school within the same conference that you're in. I mean, basically, that's what it used to be, right? You couldn't leave without a punishment.
Yeah, but I mean, this would be...
That was basically a binding contract.
In a way, right.
And now the NCAA has said, no, nothing is binding. You can leave whenever you want to. Supposedly, you can only leave once, but we all see that they can get around that, too.
My point on this is have money, since money is attached to it, so that you would have a guarantee that this player is going to get
Well, that's
X
not
amount.
with the university then. That's with the folks paying the NIL.
Right.
So could the folks doing the NIL say, okay, you get this money, but if you leave before 2 years is over, you have to pay it back? Yeah, like you're really going to get that money back.
Or you keep them from them from playing.
And that's beef between them and a booster, not between anything that makes them eligible with the NCAA.
Well, I think at some point in time, the NIL program, or the name, image, and likeness, and the whole money thing is going to get folded into the university, because it already is. It's already becoming an arm of the university. I mean, I know they have the Matador Club here, but in essence, it's an arm of the university.
Mm-hmm.
And
so then you'll get the universities. Oh well, we're just going to release him from that because they want other guys to be released from their deal so they can come here.
Yeah, no,
which is basically, kind of what we've been doing now.
I guess
you'll look bad if you won't. I like your idea, Chuck.
I'm no J. William Davis in terms of being able to write something out. I'm just kind of looking at this going, there's got to be some kind of a, and in other words, there's got to be some kind of a contract between the two parties in order for this to get somewhat rectified. Because right now it seems like it's just spinning out of control. Guys can leave willy-nilly, and there's no consequence or penalty. And the same thing goes for the school. They can say, hey, we aren't going to have a spot for you next year, so you need to find another spot.
Mm-hmm. And that would have to be the other side of it.
Yeah, there has to be a quid pro quo here. So it's got to be a little bit of, never make a concession without getting one in return, and there's got to be a little bit of give on both sides. So it's like on one end, it's like both sides got to kind of feel like they've won, and both sides got to kind of feel like they've lost a little bit. I know it speaks to professionalism. Is what it speaks to, but aren't we already there?
Yeah, and I think Syntax Hank brings up a great point of what about if the coaches leave? Does that just contract blows up?
Yeah, I know. No, I mean it's
a different deal then. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's a really good point. I just think that anything that is going to limit the student athlete, quote unquote student athlete, from having the freedom that they want is not going to cut it in today's world. That's why we are where we are. Because the NCAA was fearful of litigation from student athletes, and so they said, okay, yep, you can do that, you can transfer. Yep, you can do that, you can get paid money from boosters, all the above. So you're trying to say, now let's go back to, nope, there are rules in place here. I don't think the NCAA has any guts to do it because of the fear of litigation.
Yeah, no, you're probably.
And I don't think anybody is going to buy into limiting the athletes' freedoms.
Man, I just,
as much as I want what you're saying to be true.
Yeah,
I've kind of given up on that.
I mean, because you hear this stuff, and here is an article on ESPN from yesterday. A group of athletes have filed suit against the association and the 5 Power 5 conferences, claiming that rules prohibit schools from paying their athletes violate antitrust laws. There's a Duke football player, a Stanford soccer player, and a TCU basketball player that filed a complaint in the Northern District of California Federal Court, which is the same venue where the NCAA has lost a series of antitrust claims in the past. So that's why they filed it there. Lawyers requested an injunction that would prevent the NCAA from enforcing rules that prohibit pay-for-play compensation for athletes and seek damages for past payments the athletes would have received if the current rules were not in place.
Damages.
Yeah. It is an outright mess, and I just, there's got to be smart people out there on both sides to be able to kind of try to figure this out so this can have some sense of order.
We're in two different places. You're trying to fix it. I've given up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I like your ideas. I just don't think society today will allow any of them to go into place.
Yeah.
I like what the coaches were saying yesterday. They don't matter.
Yeah.
This is the Morning Drive Podcast from Double T 97.3, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
Jamie Lent and Jeff McGuire. I'm Chuck Heinz. This is not going to go well in Tampa. Chris Godwin's wife is accusing his boss, Buccaneers head coach Todd Bowles, for blatantly lying. Okay. Apparently, Coach Bowles, after their most recent win over the Carolina Panthers, was asked about the Buccaneer wide receiver. He was targeted 3 times, did not have a reception, had a rushing attempt, which resulted in a 19-yard run for a touchdown on a reverse. They called it a scamper. After the game, Coach Bowles says Chris Godwin was not totally 100%. We were subbing him out a lot. Obviously, he's a little nicked up. He's not totally 100%. Nobody is, but he's probably banged up more than most. For him to get the run for us was huge for him. I think it helped him out a lot. It helped us out a lot, so it was good to see him get in the red zone. Mariah Goodwin then went to the Instagram, Jamie.
Insta.
She said this: I'm not sure why we are blatantly lying here. Regardless of how banged up Chris is, he continues to work his blank off, hasn't missed a game, continues to run great routes and get open. I don't know why things are the way they are. This isn't my team to coach. But this lying on Chris and implying negativity on his work ethic is infuriating. Let's not act like he had to be subbed out so much than usual when in fact he's been playing just the same. Buccaneers are 5-7. They take on the first place Atlanta Falcons, who are 6-6 in a key NFC South matchup this weekend.
Now this will help.
This will help, right? Wonder if Mr. Goodwin went home and said to Mrs. Goodwin, "Hey, I can carry my own water here."
Yeah. I don't know.
You know, that's something I don't. I mean, I appreciate the support at home. I don't need the support to go out to the Twitterverse, right, or the Instagramverse, or the TikTok verse, or anything else. Airing of dirty laundry.
Yeah, I mean, but there's probably some thought that this wasn't a complete shock. Like, I'm guessing, right?
Okay.
I mean, you know your wife pretty well, right?
I feel like I do, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if Mrs. Heinz did that, I think we'd all be really shocked.
Yes.
Okay. I don't know if, I mean, maybe Chris Godwin was, I don't know. Maybe he was shocked. I really have no idea, but I bet he wasn't.
There's probably been some other things that maybe she has thrown out there from time to time that maybe and maybe the team probably wasn't either, like, oh God, Mrs. Godwin is going off again. Get her back on her meds, you know. I don't know. I don't know how things go for her.
Well, you should look into that then and see if you can figure out if she's supposed to be on medication. I mean, then you'd know.
Yeah. Well, we're all on.
I mean, you could really be trying to save somebody's life right now, Chuck.
We're all on a little bit of medication, I think, from time to time. You know, just kind of keep.
I took a lot of drugs this morning, so
I mean, I've had 6 of my 7, so I'm on schedule.
I may get higher by Friday.
I think the chemicals are just about right this morning. Okay,
awesome.
Just about right.
I'm all up in that, homie.
Keep feeding them. I got more.
We do have a lot of drug drops.
Seems like it, don't we? Mm-hmm. Seems like it. There's probably a little freak in everybody. Does anybody disagree with that? I literally know that. We could stay here all day, couldn't we? Pretty much.
I probably could, yeah.
Well, that was good news for the Texas Tech soccer team that Jeff communicated. I saw the release yesterday. Is Tom Stone's team went and had obviously a very strong season going into the second round of the NCAAs and making a Sweet 16 appearance, and really, not far away from getting into an Elite Eight. But to finish in the top 10, it's the first time that they have done that. So that's a breakthrough year, without a doubt.
Huge, massive,
huge.
Mm-hmm.
And
you hope that a year like this just helps with recruiting. And it's not the last one like it.
Yeah. This from Bullfighter. I'm really glad my fiance doesn't get on the socials and say something stupid like some of these housewives. Wow. Careful with the housewife context there. I don't know. There's a lot of dual working homes out there that there's not the sitting home and eating bonbons. That's 1960s, and even probably those folks in the 60s, they probably took offense to that. Probably plenty going on.
Yeah, there's plenty of both, I'm sure.
Yeah,
the stay-at-home moms.
Yeah, right. But they're working hard. They're making it happen. But yeah, this doesn't. It just reminds me of Kurt Warner's wife. You would have thought that once that that kind of settled down, that maybe others would say to their spouses, "Hey, let's with regard to my work, let's not comment on that because it becomes headline news.
It becomes a really bad look.
And it becomes a really bad look. Yeah, that's exactly right. Thoughts, comments, Yates Flooring Center chat line. Go to doublet973.com for that, or the mobile app. Visual Edge IT hotline is open too at 806-771-0973. So if you want to voice your concerns, maybe you want to have your wife text in this morning and complain about your employer or your boss. They can hide behind the cloak of anonymity.
It's a good idea.
And air some grievances. And we'll list them out here. And if your employer happens to hear that, then so be it, I guess.
The Morning Drive podcast from Double T 97.3 is presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
Jamie Lent and Jeff McGuire. I'm Chuck Heinz. It is a Football Friday presented by Abundance Energy. No Red Raider football this weekend. There's Army-Navy tomorrow. We'll have that for you at 1 on 100.7 The Score. And then the Cowboys and the Philadelphia Eagles on Sunday night for Sunday night football for first place. We'll get a little into that here in a little bit. Okay, so a couple things here that just as I'm just comparing the offensive numbers from 2022 to 2023, okay? One thing, you ran about 200 plays less this year than you did last year. You ran
because your offense wasn't able to stay on the field,
right?
Probably had to factor into that.
Had to factor into that, right? It ran 1,094 in 2022 and 863 this year.
Clock doesn't also stop as often when you are running the football as opposed to passing.
Right.
Which leads to more plays per game when you're passing and less when you're running.
Okay. You rushed the ball last year 525 times for 2,072 net yards and 28 touchdowns. You rushed the ball this year 437 times for 1,990 yards net and 16 touchdowns. You threw the ball last year. You were 348 of 569, had 18 touchdowns. 18 interceptions and 26 touchdowns. 3,926 yards this year. 257 of 426, 17 touchdowns, 17 interceptions, and 21 touchdowns. So, it wasn't obviously it wasn't a stellar year. I wonder if if you kind of did the crystal ball or did the 20/20 vision or things like that, and you went back to last year, if you've made a mistake in letting Donovan Smith go.
Made a mistake. I don't think you had a choice. I don't think you let him go.
Well, I think you could have encouraged him to stay. You could have, provided more of a, I don't know, I don't know if you could have encouraged him to stay. You could have, you could have provided more of a, I don't know, I don't know if you could have encouraged him to stay. You could have, you could have provided more of a, I don't know, I don't know if you could have encouraged him to stay. You could have, you could have provided more of a, maybe. And
Donovan Smith wasn't going to stay. He didn't want to be a third-string quarterback. He wanted to go somewhere and play.
What if you said the competition? What if you said the competition is open?
He would say, "I've heard that before, and I was third string."
Okay, that's a fair comment. That's a fair comment.
I mean, he may have been born at night, but it wasn't last night. He could see where he was on the depth chart. He could see what that coach.
Yeah, he read the writing. Yeah, he read the writing on the wall.
Thought of him compared to the other two.
Yeah. Do you? Okay, so let me ask you this.
Would have loved to have had him back last year.
Let me ask you this. Knowing what you know now, would you have taken Donovan Smith over Shuck or Baron Morton? Would you have said to Tyler Shuck, "Hey man, love you, all that kind of stuff, but it ain't happening. We're going to have an open competition between Donovan and Baron"?
Man, I mean, hindsight's 20/20 on
sure
all
it is.
that. When did Donovan announce that he was going to go?
It was about this time.
So he didn't go to the bowl game with us?
I
don't have a clue.
I don't believe so.
I don't think he did either.
I am playing devil's advocate. I understand that.
Well, how are you going to tell Tyler Shuck before the bowl game, "Hey, just so you know, we don't want you to come back, but hey, we want you to play really well against Ole Miss"?
No, it's a conundrum. I mean, it's a conundrum. But I mean, when you look at Donovan's numbers last year, he was 146 to 221 for 1,505 yards. And I realize, Shuck, he was at 106 for 177 for 1,304 yards. And then Morton was 96 of 169, had 6 interceptions for 1,117 yards. I mean, you let the guy that was the most productive get away.
Yes and no. I mean, just the level of competition, you have to factor all that in there. But you also saw Donovan had trouble taking care of the football. Mm-hmm. And I think that was the reason that you felt like he was third on your depth chart, because you wanted to make sure that you were taking care of the ball. And that Tyler and Baron were doing a better job of that.
Yeah.
I didn't have an issue per se with Donovan Smith being third on the depth chart. I mean, I'm not going to backtrack on that.
Sure, I understand that.
I just think you were in a situation where, now I would tell you that I liked Baron Morton as the starter more than I did Tyler Shuck. Mm-hmm. Okay. But I thought Donovan was the number 3 guy.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. I just think that it's unrealistic to think that you had 3 guys that were good enough to start for a college football team, and all 3 were going to stay.
Yeah, no,
it's different.
No, it is.
Yeah, this is not 2006, 7, 8, 9, whatever, when Mike Leach was just rolling out another 5th-year senior that was really good.
Which kind of speaks, and it goes back to our conversation of about an hour ago of the transferring and how easy it is to transfer and how easy it is to move around, because in those days it wasn't as easy.
Yeah, and like in Donovan Smith's situation, like I'm not mad at guys for transfer.
Yeah,
in that situation, he was going to be the third string quarterback here.
December 5th of last year is when he announced.
Okay, yeah, I didn't think he was at the bowl game.
Yeah,
so. Yeah. I mean,
I'm just doing the what if. I'm just it's just kind of like hindsight's always, like you said, 2020 or even 2010 to some degree. But it was just.
But it's unrealistic to think you were going to keep all 3 of those guys.
But the other thing is, don't you think it's fascinating that your number of plays is down so much? I mean, it's over 200 plays down.
It's not fascinating. It's disappointing.
Disappointing, right? Yeah. All those things. You go from 1,094 to 863, and the perception is that you ran the ball more this year than you did last year. I mean, frankly, you ran the ball. You did run the ball technically more times, 11 more plays, but you were within, 30 plays of being the same from last year. You ran 569 passing plays and 525, running plays. So 40 more plays passing than running. And we talked about that at this time a year ago about the balance of of the attack. I guess for lack of a better for lack of better words and lack of better knowledge, they overestimated in the spring and in the summer their ability to throw the football, and placed too much confidence in the ability to throw the football versus running the football, when a year ago their confidence level of running and passing was about the same.
I definitely would have told you last year that I was more confident in the passing game than I was the running game. That's where I feel like the offensive line really improved this year, was in the running game.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I don't know. It's hard for me to wrap my head around. I don't quite get. And I think part of it is because I'm a Red Raider fan of the Air Raid era,
mm-hmm.
and I'm just so used to every year we have a quarterback that's good, and we have wide receivers that make plays, and we throw the ball around, and we're really good passing the football, and it's fun to watch, and it's exciting and all that. I'm not telling you it's not fun to watch Taj Brooks run people over or
sure,
run for big yards too. So I'm not hating on the run game, but it's just been, that's what we do. We bring in more wide receivers, we bring in more quarterbacks, and we're good throwing the football. And suddenly this year we weren't. And it was, I don't know. Stuck in the air raid era, Jamie just doesn't understand why.
Well, and it just speaks to how disappointing that receiver group was this year compared to even a year ago. And the consumer confidence that you had in the defense, in the receiver group going into the season, is like that was like the one group that we felt the best about, and it turned out to be the one that didn't perform the most of all of them.
No, that's fair.
And if you'd have put all your money into the middle of the pile and said, who's going to perform the best? Oh, I'll take the receivers and you can have everybody else. Well, you'd have lost your house.
Your daily dose of sports and fun. This is the Morning Drive Podcast from Double T 97.3, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction. Time now for Jamie's question of the day on Lubbock Sports Station, Double T 97.3.
All right, let's flip sports.
Okay.
And let's talk some Red Raider basketball.
Okay.
I would like you guys, very simple question here. I want you to tell me the one player that you're most excited about moving forward from what you've seen so far this year.
Hard not to say Joe Toussaint, isn't it? I mean, the way he's been, what he's been able to do offensively for this team has been critical for what they've been able to do.
Yeah, don't discount his defense either.
No,
he's
I'm not.
There as well.
I was adding that at the end of that his defense has been absolutely solid. So for a newcomer who's come in, while I always tap the brakes and pull the reins back a little bit when we're talking basketball and non-conference play before we get to Big 12 play, because it's two different animals, I've liked what I've seen, and it's given me a little bit of hope that Grant McCaslin's squad has got this kind of figured out a little bit for what they want to do, and it involves a heavy dose of Joe.
If you want to be old in college basketball, you want to be old at the guard position, especially the point guard position. And he's been a terrific addition because of, the experience he brings to the table. But, man, he does just about everything for you. Leading you in scoring, shooting 50% from the floor. I love that stat. I think that's, efficient, big time, not a gunner, but a true scorer. So leading you in minutes as well. So I think Jeff has a really good answer there.
So I'll go young and say Darion Williams. I mean, he's a guy you have a chance to grow old with. All right, and because Joe Toussaint's only going to be here for a year, I believe, right? I think that's right. So he was at West Virginia for a year. He was at Iowa for a couple.
3, I don't know.
So
who knows?
that's fair. But I'll
in the Shuck 7-year plan. I don't know.
Yeah, right. All that stuff. But I'll say him, and because I just think that there's maybe an opportunity for you to, like I said, grow old with him, and I think he's a guy that's going to come on for you, and And I'm excited about his play.
Yeah, I think that's a good answer. I part of it is his age, that you got some years to go with Williams. So I think he's a good answer. I'm excited about what we're seeing of late from Kerwin Walton. Obviously, I'm a little bit of a, just because he just had such a big game the other night. But I felt like that's been coming a little bit. And you could see Coach McCaslin giving him more minutes and feeling like maybe he was getting a little bit more confidence. And so that's been great to see as well. So I think both of your answers are probably the best ones. And then I would throw Kerwin Walton into the mix as well. Isn't it crazy that, would you say that Pop Isaacs so far has been as good as you expected, better than expected, about what you expected?
I'd say less than what I expected.
Me too. And he's still almost putting up 14 points a game.
And
he's just not shooting great.
Right.
But, that speaks to how good he is, that he still finds a way to score, even though he's kind of, he's just not shooting well right now at all.
He leads you in 3-point attempts, but he's shooting 24%. So you feel like the shooters shoot, right? And maybe he'll shoot himself out of this slump. Maybe he'll get better looks.
We need him to be a maker, not just a shooter.
Yeah. He's and then you take a look at where he is from a field goal standpoint. He's 32%. He's 35 of 108. So he's 21 of 50. So that's pretty good.
Just 32% from the floor.
Yeah.
24% from 3-point range. I expected him to shoot a much higher percentage.
And then from the free throw line, he's 27 of 35. So he's turned the ball over 23 times. Obviously, he's going to have the ball in his hand a lot. He's got 22 assists. But then also factor in the fact that he's hit a game winner for you. He sent you to overtime. Right.
He's still the guy that in key situations you want the ball in his hands. So I don't think it's been a terrible season. It feels like, just from watching the games, like, oh man, I expected him to be our dude. And Joe Toussaint is clearly our dude.
He is.
Right now.
He is.
But it hasn't been nearly as bad. Looking at the numbers, it's not been as bad as what I had in my mind.
Right, yeah. Right, I agree with you. And then, like you said, you look at a couple of games where you're 8 games in, you don't win one without him taking it to the hole and hitting it for you, and you damn near win one when he ties it up for you in overtime. If he'd played a little bit better defense, you wouldn't have been into the overtime, though, or shot the ball just a little bit better down the stretch against Butler. You didn't get some shots to fall for you that not. So, yeah, no, I maybe he would say the same thing, like, been able to affect the game some, but I'm not where I want my game to be, clearly. But he's not let. I guess the other thing, to his credit, it doesn't seem like he's let his adversity affect his willingness to take a shot in a key situation. In other words, I don't think he's been tentative.
Yeah, I think you need Pop Isaacs to not have a conscience.
Right.
That's what he is.
Right. Don't have a conscience.
Yeah. You can't have too many of those guys on your team, but you can definitely have one. And like I said, he's a guy that in the last second of the game, and I would put Joe Toussaint in that same category, but in the last seconds of the game, I want the ball in one of those two guys' hands.
Did your mom growing up have to use the "let your conscience be your guide," Jamie? Did she have to do that to you?
No.
Okay. So yeah. We had a lot of that in my house. Well, let your conscience be your guide.
This is the Morning Drive Podcast from Double T 97.3, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
Yates Warning Center chat line is open. Go to doublet973.com for that. A Visual Edge IT hotline too at 806-771-0973. We come to you from the First United Bank studio. It is a Football Friday presented by Abundance Energy. We have Dallas Cowboy football on the air for you on Sunday night with Sunday Night Football. Last night, I think a surprise, because it's an upset. New England Patriots go into Pittsburgh and defeat the Steelers 21-18, both with backup quarterbacks. Mitch Trubisky now plays for the Steelers, and Bailey Zappi who hails for the New England Patriots. That was your quarterback matchup last night. And the Patriots come out on top, 21-18. Zappe was 19 of 28, 240 yards, 3 touchdowns, did throw an interception. Trubisky was 22 of 35, 190, a touchdown and an interception as well. So that's going to hurt Pittsburgh's chances to make it to the playoffs.
Back to back, they've lost to the Cards and then
out of the Patriots.
Pats. Yeah. Man, that kind of feels like you don't deserve to make the playoffs.
Yeah, no, that's a fair comment. That's a fair comment. Cowboys and Eagles. That's the best matchup of the weekend right there. You have 2 Monday night games: Titans and the Dolphins. Dolphins are 9-3. Packers and Giants. Packers coming off a win over Kansas City.
What are we doing with 2 Monday night games at the same time?
I don't know.
What are we doing?
I don't know. It makes no sense, right? It makes no sense.
I don't know.
It makes it. What it does is it continues to dilute and water down Sunday. And it just continues to drive me away from a doubleheader of football. I think I've watched less doubleheaders this year of football. And part of it's my schedule, as to how things have kind of gone and stuff that we've had going on. But it'll be appointment television for me on Sunday afternoon at 3:25 with the Chiefs and the Buffalo Bills. Chiefs are struggling. They're not really getting receiver help like they've had in the past. They're 8-4 and take on a 6-6 Bills team that, frankly, they need to win too. To kind of keep pace with everything. Buffalo is a couple of games behind Miami, so they'd be in a wild card situation. Now they're on the outside looking in, so they're kind of in a pack there with Denver and Cincinnati, and behind Pittsburgh, and Houston and Indianapolis and Cleveland. Those 3 teams are 7-5. Pittsburgh 7-6. Denver, Cincinnati, Buffalo 6-6. Chargers are 5-7. Raiders are 5-7. So you got a whole cluster of teams there that are fighting for
big gooey middle there,
wild card spot. So that, and then in the NFC side of things, like I said, the best matchup is Philadelphia and Dallas. And so when you look at that right now, Cowboys are 9-3 and Philly's 10-2, and coming off of I think you would say I don't know if it's shocking, but surprising loss in terms of how they lost to the 49ers.
Yeah.
42-19.
It wouldn't have shocked you if you said Niners are going to win that game 24-20 or whatever. Mm-hmm. But it was a beatdown. Yeah. It was both sides of the football, just complete beatdown, domination by the Niners. So, yeah, that was surprising, and I think it gives us all, question about them. Are they really as good as we thought they were, or their record is showing? Obviously going to win at Kansas City was a good win, and coming from behind to beat Buffalo was a decent win. Mm-hmm. But the Niners just put it on them. So it'll be interesting to see how they bounce back. But then again, ask the same questions about the Cowboys.
Yeah.
Who have they beaten that's good? Nobody. But who have they went toe-to-toe with the Eagles, in Philadelphia and came really close, and maybe some might even say should have won that game against the Eagles. So, against the Eagles. So just waiting to see which Cowboys team that we're going to get in this game, because I think this could be a great game, and I absolutely think the Cowboys should win it.
And remember, the 49ers have a dominating win over the Cowboys. That was at their place. So, I don't know, because I would have said going into last week's game between Philadelphia and San Francisco, I would have said the Eagles were the best team in football. Best team in the NFL. I'm not prepared to say that San Francisco is, but man, they've beaten the other 2 teams that you would contend to. Yeah,
I think I am.
Yeah. I
think I am. I know they had a stretch there in the middle where it was a little bit ugly.
I mean,
I think the Niners are the best team.
It certainly put them ahead of the Cowboys. You have to put them ahead of the Eagles. I'd put them ahead of the Chiefs. So I guess I am saying that they are the best team in football right now.
Who else are you going to say?
Yeah. You're not. They just kind of got beat up a little bit there too. So anyway, it was not a good day for the Eagles last week as they lost 42-19. So that puts you, and this is kind of a opportunity now for Dak Prescott, right, to kind of show what he's worth and show that he's a top tier quarterback. And
this is one of those games where we've said about Dak, hey, yeah, he can put up big numbers against bad teams, but what does he do in big games? Okay, and it hasn't been great up to this point. So this is one of those games where he could really show out. But he played really well against the Eagles first time. Yeah.
So you kind of look at this and go, okay, how's this gonna work for you? Dak Prescott this year is 288 of 411. He's completed 70% of his passes, and he's thrown just 6 interceptions with 26 touchdown passes. But like you say, you've got to be prepared to now face a team that's a quality team and see what you can do against that. And here's his opportunity to shine.
And let's also not be the TCU of the Mountain West where you only get up for one game when you've got 3 afterwards with the same kind of caliber that you're facing this week.
This has been the Morning Drive Podcast, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction. Check out our library of Double T 97.3 podcasts at doublet97.3.com.